All right, I need your help. Can you tell everyone if they were gonna start making homemade dog food for their puppies, for their senior dogs and their senior puppies, what would you do? What would be step one, right? Now, we got this video topic by request because what I realize is some of the videos on this channel, especially some of the healthy homemade dog food recipe videos, assume that you guys know how to get started with this. You've already been doing this a while. So what about for the absolute beginner? How would they do it? How would they make homemade dog food? Well, here's what you would do. Number one, get yourself a good crock pot or slow cooker or an Instapot. Yes, that's supposed to look like R2-D2. No, we do not recommend buying novelty Instapots because they don't always work so well. Two, get a food scale. It is super important because we're gonna do everything based on grams, and that's how we're gonna know how much our dogs need to eat. There is no more important step than the food scale. You wanna get some Tupperware containers or some glass containers so that you can do meal prep. The goal is to have all meals made for the week in one day. Now, I use bowls and I put 2 days worth of meals in. It simply saves freezer space, it saves space in the fridge, and it's a lot easier to, it makes meal prep a lot faster. And you don't mind it, right? No, they don't care. You're gonna wanna get a strainer for broth, and I would highly recommend a slow down bowl, because some dogs like to eat too fast. And often when making the switch from kibble to homemade dog food, your dog might go a little crazy. So one of these bowls can help slow them down slightly at least, right? Even a little bit. All right, so how much food do you give? This is really important because a lot of people coming from kibble or from canned food don't know how much food to give, and the feeding guidelines that come on a dog food bag have nothing to do with homemade food. So as a rule, with a senior dog, with an adult dog, you're gonna wanna go starting off with 20 grams of food per kilo of body weight. So a dog like this, who is 15 kilo, would get 300 grams of food per day. So a 10 kilo dog is gonna get about 200 grams of food. 40 kilo dog would get 800 grams of food. Now, what does that actually mean as far as what goes in their bowl? If you're feeding keto, if you're doing a keto diet, on homemade dog food, most of it is gonna be the protein source, meat, beef, pork, chicken, fish, whatever it is. That's gonna be the vast majority of it with a little bit of vegetable thrown in. If you're doing a more moderate carb to low carb diet, a normal diet for dogs, you're gonna add some sweet potato or something like that as a carb source. If it were a 200 gram portion, I would recommend going with 100 grams of ground pork, an egg, 50-ish grams of sweet potatoes, the vegetables, which would be zucchini, spinach, bell pepper, cabbage, different color cabbage, pumpkin. I don't really count that in their total. Calorically, it adds very little. We're doing it for vitamins and minerals and fiber, especially insoluble fiber, which we can use as a prebiotic. From there, we're always gonna add a fish oil, a high EPA DHA oil, or a krill oil. Now, again, I don't add that into the caloric count. Fish oils, omega-3s, don't really get used as much by the body. They go mostly to the brain and to the inner organs. It's not really a great energy source. So don't worry about that unless your dog is really tipping the scales and on borderline obese or they really need to lose weight. I wouldn't worry about it too much. From there, we would add a little bit of chia seeds for fiber and again for prebiotics, vitamins, and minerals. Kefir or Greek yogurt for prebiotics, a little bit of extra calcium as well. Always bone broth, not only for vitamin and mineral content, but most importantly for glucosamine, chondroitin, which is great for senior dogs' joints, and collagen, which is not only fantastic for joints and hair and skin, but it also helps heal and optimize gut health. And that's important for seniors because not only can inflammation, especially in the gut, cause joint problems, it can also cause health problems, and even some have linked inflammation to things like cancer. So if your dog, especially an older dog, has cancer, has autoimmune disorder, or you just want to keep them as healthy as possible for as long as possible, we want to concentrate on gut health. Remember that in mammals, did you know this? Most of our immune system is actually located in the digestive tract. So keeping gut health optimized is key. Now, how much does all this cost? It really depends on your area, and I would strongly suggest you shop around to the best of your ability to find the cheapest cuts because every place is different. Now, here, ground pork and ground beef, which is, how good is it? It's fantastic, right? And it's super local, is cheap. Turkey, however, is outrageously priced, and we only get turkey on special occasions because it is super expensive. Turkeys are not native here, and really very few exist. Now, I can tell you that when I lived in another area, there was a type of cut of pork called a pork shoulder roast or a picnic roast. Most people didn't want to buy it. Most customers were turned off to it because it had a very big fat pad and it had a bone. This makes it a perfect dog food. Number one, the bone is good for broth, and your dog should eat the fat from the fat pad. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now those were so cheap that I could buy 3 or 4 of them and feed 5, I think it was 5 dogs at the time, very easily and cheap. So make sure you shop around. Get looking into the supermarket flyers, go to your local butcher shop, find the cheapest cuts of beef, even if it's something like an oxtail, or just find out what's the cheapest in your area. That's really all you gotta do. Food scale, a slow cooker, an Instapot, find the food, put the right foods in, protein source, fat sources like fish oil, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil. You can put turmeric paste, homemade bone broth. What else do we put in there? Vegetables, chia seeds. That's the basic recipe. That's really as good as it's gonna get. Now, a note on vitamins and the question that all the dog food companies wanna push on you: what about calcium? Dogs need a ton of calcium. That is true. However, they treat all of us dog owners like idiots, thinking we can't find a calcium source for our dog unless we eat this crappy kibble. We're not gonna do that, are we? Never. Okay, so how do you get calcium? Well, one, you can get just a straight calcium supplement, or you can get a multi-mineral and multivitamin supplement. I like things from the Bones and Raw food line because they are usually sourced from vegetables and herbs and ground eggshell powder. And 2, they're the most complete. But speaking of eggshells, if you're using eggs in your dog food, or if you eat eggs, take the shells, rinse them out, dry them, throw them in a coffee grinder. That is pure calcium. You can add that to your dog's food. So we're talking about seniors and adults here. If you're feeding a puppy, remember that they have even higher calcium needs, so I would 100% recommend a calcium supplement for puppies. And also, when we're talking about puppies, remember we said we're gonna start with 20 grams for an adult or a senior. You may need to adjust up or down. That's about 1 to 2% of their body weight. For puppies, however, if you have a puppy or you have a mixed family, they need 5 to 6%. So a 10-kilo puppy would get about 500 grams to 600 grams of food. It's a lot more. Puppies expend a tremendous amount of energy just growing, and you are done growing, thankfully. Now, once you got your food scale, you got your slow down bowl, you got all your food, once you have all that stuff, you're gonna put the food in containers. I like to do it for 7 days. Put the first 2 days in the fridge, everything else goes in the freezer, and then we just rotate. Super simple. What kind of recipes do you need? Well, click right above us here. Do you see that up there? You don't care. There's a link to healthy homemade dog food recipes for all size dogs. Follow that, and we will see you back here next time.